Attention medical professionals, I want to ask you something. How would you rate your EKG knowledge today on a scale of 1 to 10? So let's say 1 is you know very, very little, but 10 is you feel like you know it all. Now compared to when you were in school, how are you today? What would you rate yourself on a 1 to 10? Are you better? Are you about the same? Are you worse? Believe it or not, most people know less about EKGs today than when they were in school. Yes, is that true for you? Be sure to watch this entire video. I'm going to show you why you really want to master EKGs, how I can help you do that, and why and how knowing more about EKGs is going to help you learn so much more about every aspect of medicine, and that's going to help you do your overall job better. Is that good? Is that good for you? Okay, so there again, make sure you watch this entire video. Come in. I want you to hear this. I'm going to tell you the tea about some of your coworkers. They probably don't want you to know, okay? Now, this is going to be between me and you. All right, everything good so far? So if that's good, give me a thumbs up. For real, give me a thumbs up. Some of you really giving me a thumbs up. You know I can't see you. You know I'm looking into a camera. Now, before I get too far, let me just tell you more about me, okay? My name is Joshua Crawford. I've been in healthcare for over 2 decades. I've actually been an educator at various levels for about the same amount of time. My journey in medicine started way back when I was in high school. I started teaching CPR, first aid, even in Boy Scouts, okay? I went to EMT school, then I became a paramedic. After paramedic, I was a paramedic educator so that I could teach paramedic school. Then I became a certified flight paramedic. I was on a helicopter working with some of the most critical patients imaginable. You probably noticed that from the picture above. Now, after being a certified flight paramedic, I went to med school. It was a lifelong dream. I always wanted to be a doctor. And even in med school, I taught my own EKG workshop. Several of you may have attended that previous version. Now we're doing a completely revamped, not just revamped, a completely new program. So I taught several hundred students, like I said, but to date, I've actually taught over 2,000 students. Now, the reason I'm so passionate about EKGs, and you say, well, Joshua, why are you so into it? The reason is I realize this is a topic where a lot of medical professionals struggle. And I'm talking at every level, from the tech to the doctor. And the reason I know this is I also struggled. But I feel like this is an area that is not taught that well. You know how it is. A lot of teachers, they flip PowerPoints, give you a whole bunch of facts, and basically leave it to you to figure out the rest. But I knew there had to be a better way, because I remember learning 10, 15, 20 basic rhythms. I had memorized some protocols, and I'm going to tell you why that's kind of a dangerous formula, but that's where a lot of people find themselves. They know a few basic things, and then they know some protocols. They don't necessarily know why the protocols exist, though. But I remember going on calls as a paramedic, and I'd get a little nervous. See if you relate. That feeling, okay, you've now got a patient that presents. The patient has something wrong, but you don't exactly know what's going on. You're just you attach them to the monitor, put the electrodes on them, you print out the EKG paper, and then basically you're just hoping you can catch something that you can do something about. But I'm going to tell you that's a really dangerous position to be in for you and the patient. Now, I remember I started off as a BLS instructor. I was an ACLS and PALS instructor, have been for several years. But even with all that additional knowledge, I still wasn't really comfortable with EKGs myself. So I decided I wanted to delve deep into it, study everything I could find. I started going to extra classes. I started watching videos. I would even talk to cardiologists. In fact, I've spent the last 13 years mastering this one topic. Okay? 13 years. And I can help you. Now, if you'll click below, scroll below, you're going to see some testimonials. In fact, I think it's 2 testimonials right now. You're going to see one from a doctor that I taught while we were both in med school. He was one of the several colleagues I taught, several hundred. You're also going to see a testimonial from an actual patient. His name is Kevin. Kevin was a patient that I treated in real life. He was having a real life and death emergency. I'm going to let Kevin tell his own story because he's alive today. Because I had knowledge, and I don't take all the credit. I believe God worked through me, my partner, the entire healthcare team. But because we had certain knowledge and we knew exactly what to do, we were able to recognize exactly what was going on with him immediately, give him the care that he needed. Kevin is alive today. Now, his heart did stop 3 times, but I'll let him tell you the rest of the story. But I want you to have a similar experience when you take this journey with me. So, enough about me. Do you know why most people struggle with EKGs? What would you think? Well, let me tell you. The reason most people struggle with EKGs, remember earlier I told you how a lot of people, their knowledge today about EKGs is worse than before? But that wouldn't fly for any other situation. Typically, the more you're in something, the more experience you have, the more knowledge you get, the better you are. But that's not really the case with EKGs for a lot of people. And the reason is most people have just made it way too complicated. I know what it's like, guys. I know that story. I want you to know that I get it. Think about that feeling of being overwhelmed when you look at an EKG, feeling a little stressed out. Well, those feelings that we kind of attach to EKGs, that's holding you back. That's keeping you trapped. That's keeping you with just limited knowledge. And if you find yourself in that same situation where you're like, okay, yeah, I know 10, 20 basic rhythms. I know what the protocol says to do. I don't necessarily know why that's the protocol. I'm going to help you. Okay? So, for instance, I'm going to tell you why. Why do we give lidocaine in certain situations? Why do we give amiodarone? What is it about mag sulfate? What's the magnesium part of mag sulfate, and why do we do that? Why do we give calcium channel blockers or sodium channel blockers? I'm going to tie all of that in, and that's the missing piece that most of you have. You know certain rhythms, but you don't know the background story down to the cell. That's what I happen to be really good at. Okay, so I've worked with over 2,000 students. Like I've said, I've picked up on different patterns over the years, and I'm going to really teach you to master the cell physiology, and we'll tie in a little biochemistry every now and then. So most people have very superficial knowledge in medicine. Would you agree? But do you know why that is? I want you to think back to school. See if your story is similar to mine and a lot of people. You go to class, or now you watch recorded lectures. And then, so you go to class and get some information. You take a test, right? And that professor chooses some test questions. They'll ask you about certain things. They don't ask you about every single possible thing because the test would be like 3 days. But then you take the test and let's say you pass. But do you know that passing in my own med school, I don't remember a single exam where the passing score was over 70%. I'm not saying that that's where everybody was, but I'm saying imagine if passing is only 70%. Well, there's a lot of numbers between 70 and 100. So there's a whole lot of room for improvement. But even if you got an 80 on the test or 90 or 95, you still have some knowledge gaps. There's still some information that you probably did not go back and figure it out. So what happens in med school, I remember you take the test today and then tomorrow you start an entirely new module. So you didn't even have the time to really review. You just keep moving forward. Well, so what happens is that pattern just keeps happening over and over and over. You learn some stuff, take a test, learn some stuff, take a test, learn some stuff, take a test. And you do that after enough time and they say, all right, congratulations. It's time for you to take maybe a board exam. Well, So you take the board exam, and there again, it's not testing, do you know everything? It's testing, do you meet the minimum standard to be safe and not kill off a whole bunch of people? The minimum, guys. So a lot of people get past that point, and then they go apply for a state licensure. Now, congratulations. You now have your license. So you're a paramedic, you're a nurse, you're a mid-level provider, you're a doctor. But remember how you just kept advancing, but you never went back and relearned the things that you didn't really know. So a whole lot of people get to the end, and that's their story. Do you know you have colleagues that are in this exact same position? Think about it. I want you to think about your job. Think about some of the people you work with. You know there are some people that you look at them and you're like, wait a minute. How did this person get here? How did she get here? Why is he working with me? You know they don't know what they're doing. And you know how you feel about them, right? Now, come here. I want to let you in on something. Do you know that the same way that you feel about some of your colleagues, perhaps some of your colleagues feel that same way about you? Okay? I just want you to think about that. Now, all right. So I want you to consider it from a different perspective. Imagine, all right, you've been working hard. You've been killing it at work, working all these long hours. You need a break. So you, your family, you decide planning for a vacation. You've got this dream vacation. You've been planning for it for months. You started buying your different outfits. You got your favorite swimwear picked out. You know what you're going to wear on different days. You've already imagined. You got your new sunglasses. You imagine sitting out on the beach. The sun warming your face. You can almost feel that sand under your toes. You're sitting out on the beach, stretched out. You got your favorite beverage. You know, that tall glass of water. You've got your flight booked. I mean, you got your bags packed. And then the day finally comes. You get to the airport. You know, the stress of the airport. But it's exciting. You're filled with excitement because the day that you've been waiting for has finally arrived. So maybe you check out the lounge, or maybe you just go ahead and sit at your gate. Now, the boarding process is starting. The gate agent is standing behind the desk, and they call your group. You're ready, you and your family. All of you are right there in line. You start advancing down the jet bridge. Finally, you get on the plane. Take your seat. Get all comfortable. You buckle your seatbelt. Is this starting to sound familiar? All right, the boarding process continues. More and more people board the aircraft. They close the doors. Okay? They've done their final check. You feel the plane start moving because you're being pushed back from the gate. And a few minutes later, you know this story, you hear that all familiar voice. You know, it sounds something like, "Ladies and gentlemen, good morning from the flight deck. This is your captain speaking. The weather today is sunny and blah, blah, blah. Our time en route is this." And they continue on with their few more announcements. But this pilot happens to be really honest. And this pilot says, "Hey guys, I just want to let you know something. I know the basics. I know how to operate the primary and secondary flight controls. I know how to make this plane go up and down, and I know how to make us turn left and right and have a coordinated turn. We even know how to use the radio and talk to air traffic control. But we don't really know the advanced stuff. You know that stuff when things get more complicated. Well, guys, guess what? We're just going to hope for the best today. Now, how many of you are like, get me out of here, let me out of here right now. I don't want to take this flight." Well, we don't want our pilots to have superficial knowledge, right? Because that could be dangerous. But do you know that medical professionals every day have superficial knowledge, especially when it comes to EKGs? Well, that could be dangerous. So it's not really good enough to just know maybe 20 basic rhythms. And you've only seen things from one perspective. So think about this. All right, let's go outside. You and I are going to go outside. Okay? You with me? Let's just go outside. Let's go take a walk. Now, you've been in this area for a while. You kind of know the layout of the land. You know the community. And I say, well, what do you see? I point over there and I say, what do you see? And you say, I see 20 trees. And I say, 20 trees? That's what you see? And you say, yeah, I see 20 trees. All right, I say, all right, here, let's do something a little different. I want you to get in this plane with me. Now, by the way, I happen to be a pilot. True story. I really am a pilot. And I say, all right, get in the plane with me. All right, I'm going to put you up front in the co-pilot seat with me. I say, buckle your seatbelt. Check. All right, you got your window closed? Check. All right, we're in. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and taxi us to the runway. I'm going to line up on the center line, guys. All right, this is the moment we've been waiting for. Let's get on that center line. All right, you ready? All right, lights, camera, action. So I start putting the power in. Ooh, baby, we feel that thrust coming in. All right, I've got my feet on the floor. I'm keeping us down the center line. All right, I check my airspeed. Airspeed's alive. Pressure temps in the green. We've got no cautions, no warnings. Our airspeed's starting to come up, and I peel us off the runway. We start climbing. Okay? Now, I'm going to get us up to about 3,000 or 4,000 feet. I'll level us off in cruise flight. I'm going to adjust the power settings. I'll trim us out. We're in straight and level flight. Okay? We're rocking and rolling, baby. Now, I want you to look out your window over there. Look out the window. And what do you see? And suddenly you say, Joshua, what is this? I see a whole forest. And I say, really? And you say, well, where did that come from? I say, well, it's always been there. The reason you didn't see it before is you were looking from a limited perspective. Okay? Well, that's exactly what's going to happen during this challenge. You're going to find out that it's way more than just knowing 10, 20, 30 basic rhythms. That's just the start. But what if I could show you the EKG from a different perspective? I could kind of take you behind the scenes, journey through the heart with me. So I can really teach you the how and the why behind the scenes. I can really tie in the cell, but not only show you what's going on in the heart, but show you what's going on in other parts of the body. Okay? Show you things you never knew before. They've always been there. It's just you didn't see it. I'm going to make this EKG come alive for you. Does that sound good? What if I could use the EKG to help you understand lab values? So now you're not just trying to remember a checklist or a list of, sodium levels or potassium levels or magnesium or calcium levels. What if I can truly make that EKG come alive and help you understand lab values? What if we could use the EKG and I could tell you more about seizures and how we treat different types of seizures and why we treat different seizures that originate in different parts of the brain differently based on the underlying cellular physiology. And I'm going to show you this by way of the EKG. Whoa. Now, what if we could use our EKG knowledge to better understand anxiety, diarrhea, let's say lethargy, confusion, mental dullness, altered mental status? Wait a minute. What does that have to do with an EKG? Well, the EKG is just a graphical representation of cellular physiology. So it doesn't just tell you information about the heart. Yes, that's what we're paying attention to is the heart, but it tells you information about the entire body if you're looking from the right perspective. See, the problem in medicine is we've put patients in these silos. We say, okay, this is a cardiac patient or a respiratory patient or a renal patient or an endocrine patient, right? What if I say it's really a patient made up of cells? So what's going on in the cell happens to show up in the heart, but it also shows up in the brain, the lungs, the kidneys, and so forth. Does that make sense? Okay, excuse me. So I'm going to show you how the EKG affects the entire body. So holy moly. All right, I know that was a lot. So the thing is, you just needed a different teacher. Well, guess what? You're in luck. So before today, you thought, well, shoot, I don't really need to know EKGs. Only the cardiologist needs to know that. Well, like I said, you're in luck. So I want you to buckle up your seatbelt. I want you to get on board this EKG Mastery Challenge with us. And let's show you how we're going to truly level up and elevate your knowledge. So here's what you can expect. I'm going to show you how to be able to interpret EKGs with ease using our step-by-step system. We're going to actually start having fun with this newfound knowledge, and we're going to see where it's going to take us. I'm going to show you how to figure out exactly what's going on with your patient in real time. Remember Kevin, how I was able to figure out exactly what was going on with him because of my understanding of cellular physiology and know how to treat him. In fact, in his situation, not only did I know what to do, I knew what not to do. Now, the way I do this while I'm teaching is I'm going to draw a lot of pictures. I'm going to tell some wacky stories. Now, don't judge me. But those pictures, not only is it going to help you learn the information, you're going to use those silly pictures to be able to teach your patients the same information. Okay? You're going to be able to better explain what's going on. You're going to be able to better communicate with your colleagues and advocate for your patients. Speak up for them. You're going to start to feel more confident, more empowered. You're going to feel like, okay, I got the answer. And I know how to use this information to not only understand the heart, but understand medicine in general. Does that sound good? Well, there's so much more. Now, how long is it going to take you? Guess what? You're going to start getting results the very first hour of our challenge. But we're going to be together for 5 days, but every day you're going to start seeing your knowledge improve. Okay? So with this EKG Mastery Challenge, in just a few hours, and for less than the cost of maybe a fancy dinner or an expensive fragrance or something, or a fancy fragrance, or maybe an iPad or a smartwatch, other things that people buy, you're going to have knowledge that's not only going to help you and your patients right now, it's going to help you for the rest of your life. And when I say the rest of your life, I don't just mean your medical career. I mean the rest of your life, because you're a human made up of cells, and at some point, you may become a patient if you haven't been before. Does that sound good? So here's the challenge. Here's the EKG Mastery Challenge in a nutshell. So what it is, it's a 5-day challenge where we're going to go live. We're going to be live together Monday through Friday for a couple hours a day. So a couple hours a day for 5 days. And by the way, it's going to start really soon. So you need to sign up really quickly and sign up before the spots fill up. Now, I said it's a challenge. It's not just some boring class. I don't like those either, but it's a challenge. Therefore, you can expect it to be challenging. Okay? Make sure you check the time zones below to make sure, based on your time zone, you show up on time, depending on where you're coming from around the world. So, from the comfort of your home or office, and by the way, I encourage you to do this from a laptop or desktop computer, and don't use your phone. Okay, so we're going to start off laying the foundation. I want to make sure you have a very solid foundation. And then every day we're going to progressively add more and more. We're going to start really simple, very basic, and then we're going to get to a lot more advanced topics because I want you to be really well-rounded. Now, if you'll read below, you're going to find out about each day, day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it'll tell you more specifics about what I'm going to cover, but just know this curriculum has been totally created from the ground up, and I've strategically planned it out so that as we go, we're going to make sure that you have the foundation before we get to more advanced topics, so that once we get there, you're going to really understand. Now, there are 2 levels for you to be able to join, either the VIP or the general admission. Now, the very best value and the most bang for your buck is going to be VIP. So why don't we take a moment and let's just go to the computer. Let me just pull that up on the screen for you. Bear with me just a moment. Okay, so the general admission is $97, as you can see. So about the cost of a meal for a couple, or maybe a mani-pedi or spa treatment. I don't know if you can get all of that for the $97. Now, only take this option as a last resort. Okay, but in the general admission, so you're going to get 5 days of the class with me, okay? Just like everybody. Now, and by the way, everybody gets these same 3 things. Whether you do general admission or VIP, this is the same for everybody. So you'll join us live, but in general admission, you'll actually join us on Facebook. There'll be a private Facebook group that you'll be able to sign up for and be invited into. So you're going to see and hear everything that's going on, and you'll also get access to this daily workbook. But the best option is the VIP ticket. Excuse me. That's where all the fun happens. Okay? So, like I said, everybody gets the daily workbook, and everybody, even VIPers, also have access to the daily Facebook group, because after class, what happens is we'll do like our homework assignments in the Facebook group. When I say homework, nothing to worry about. It's very simple. Takes about 10-15 minutes a day, but the whole purpose of that, remember, this is a challenge, so the whole purpose is for you to learn some information and then go home and start applying it right away. But it also gives you the opportunity. I will be in the Facebook group myself every day, and so I'll be able to kind of answer some questions that perhaps we didn't get to in class. Now, let's look at the VIPers. So I want you to just focus on this big red section to the right of your screen. So I already said that the VIPers, they get the same information they have the same first 3 things in terms of you're going to have the 5 days, you'll have access to the Facebook group, and you get the daily workbook. But this is where things start to separate. For the VIPers, we're going to first kick off with a live session on Zoom. You're going to be on Zoom with me for every day. So I misspoke. We first kick off with our pre-session kickoff. So that actually takes place the Sunday before, but that's only for the VIPers. We'll come together. We'll have like a little kickoff party for about 30 minutes the Sunday before. So that's coming up really, really soon. And then starting on Monday, that's when you'll be with me for the actual Zoom session. The other thing that's different is you get to have some games. We'll play some games. There'll be some prizes that you get to win, hopefully. You'll be able to get your questions answered in real time. So what I'll do is I'll call on people. You'll have your camera on. I'll call on you, and we'll kind of do a little game together. We'll kind of hot seat us together. But this is really beneficial because it helps you and it helps everybody else. Now, I want to tell you something. So I have highlighted this bonus session. And as you can see, this says a $6,000 value. Let me tell you about this. On day 4, this is only for the VIPers. So general admission, you don't even see this at all. For the VIPers on day 4, I'm going to teach you the most powerful concept in all of medicine. Now, full disclosure, I didn't know this myself. I had already completed years of medical school. I was studying for my own board exams, and I ended up attending a program. So I met a guy who ended up becoming my mentor. He was a med peds doctor, so internal medicine pediatrics. And on the very first day of this class, now the class was 5 weeks, but it was so much information. I went through it twice. So I went through over 10 weeks of information. I had to pay over $6,000 to learn what I'm going to teach you in this 25-minute session. But I'm going to break down the cell in a way that you've never seen before. And I'm going to show you what happens in every single chronic disease known to man. I don't care what you call it. I don't care what the name of it is. I'm going to show you how changes in the cell. I'm going to show you what happens in the brain, what happens in the heart, what happens in the lungs, what happens in the kidneys, what happens in the testicles, in the breast, in the uterus. I'm going to show you what happens in the skin. I'm going to show you what symptoms patients are going to present with. At what point is it going to be bad enough to where they say, I got to go to the hospital? I'm going to show you this by showing you what goes on down into the cell. This by itself is worth the price of admission. And do you know, if you were to take most EKG courses, especially with this level of value, you'd pay $1,500 to $2,000 on average. You're not going to pay nearly that. For you, it's only the $397. As a VIPer, you also have access to the daily recordings for 7 days. So there'll be a members area where you log in with your password and you'll be able to go watch the videos from each day's session. You also have access to this VIP referral program. Now, what that is you sign up for VIP yourself, and then I want you to help me get as many people into the challenge as possible. So what I'm going to do is when you sign up for VIP and you help us get 10 other people to sign up for VIP, let's just pull that up for you. So they have to list your name and either your email and phone number so that we can link it back to you. And what we're going to do for you, since you referred those 10 people, is you have the option to either get 2 months in our mastermind group. Now, you're going to find out more about that in the challenge. You're probably going to want to sign up, but it's kind of select. So it's limited to just a few people who want to really level up and take it to the next level with me. You have the option of doing 2 months in the mastermind group, or you can just say, you know what, I'd rather just get a refund. Okay? So let's just recap all of that. So at VIP, you're going to have 5 days with me. You'll have access to the Facebook group. You'll get the daily workbook. We'll do our pre-session kickoff. We're going to have a lot more interaction, a lot more engagement. We'll have games and prizes and so much more. You're going to get your questions answered in real time. And if I don't get to the questions during the session, what I'll do is I'll go to the Facebook group, or some of you will just send me an email and I'll try to respond before the next day's session. Remember, you're going to get that bonus session that nobody else gets except VIPers. You'll have access to the daily recordings and access to our VIP referral program. So, what more can I say? I hope by now you see the importance of doing this and why you want to sign up below. So, here's what I'm going to ask you to do. Immediately, click the link and go ahead and sign up. I don't know what you're waiting on. Okay? As I said, all of this, you're going to get so much value for just this $397. And I want to not only show you EKGs, but I want to show you how knowing more about EKGs is going to help you overall. To be able to have that knowledge that's going to help your patients right away, help you boost your confidence. I want you to feel empowered that, hey, I know what's going on, and I'm going to be able to use this information for the rest of my career, but also the rest of my life. Okay? So now, you know you need to understand this on a deeper level. You know you want to see things from a different perspective, okay? So, as I said, I want you to go sign up, tell everybody you can about it, and I will see you in the challenge that starts very soon. Have a great day, everybody.